Welcome back to the Professional Hate Watching Association. I'm Ethan, here with Daniel, like always. I couldn't even get the intro out because we got a lot to talk about today. We haven't been on in, I think it's 2 weeks. I got the Warriors hat on today because the Warriors finally beat the Portland Trailblazers. Fourth time's the charm, apparently. Fourth time's the charm. I'll take it.
Didn't think we'd see the day. We went from the Warriors sweeping the Blazers in the Western Conference Finals a few years ago in 2019 to not even knowing if they could beat them in the regular season. How times have changed.
Times have changed indeed. And don't even, did Denny Avdia play? No. Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter because the Warriors won. And that is what matters. They're 22-19. They're 3 games above 500. I didn't know if I'd see that day again.
They're making strides.
We're coming for that play-in spot, I'll tell you that much. We got a lot to talk about today. I want to start with, just as a preview, a lot of trade conversations going on. The deadline is less than a month away now. But what is happening today is the last day of All-Star voting. So at the end of the show, me and Daniel are going to premiere our All-Star picks. They're definitely wrong. No, I'm just kidding. When are we wrong? We're never wrong. But let's jump right into it first because a trade happened while we were off the air last week. Trae Young to DC. And, what was funny is I remember you were talking beforehand. And we were like, what are we even going to do for this week's show? We didn't end up having one. And you said there's not much NBA news going on. And that day, after you said that, the Trae Young to anywhere but Atlanta rumors just heated up. And it was the next day, I think it was, DC is his preferred destination. You were confused by that. And then later that day, he was traded mid-game. He got Harrison Barnes.
It was, for those of you who don't know what that reference is, when Harrison Barnes was on the Dallas Mavericks, they traded him to, I think it was Sacramento, right?
Yes.
So the Mavericks were playing, I don't even remember. It was in 2016 or 2017. I don't remember who they were playing, but it was literally in the middle of the game. So Trae Young got traded to the Wizards. It was during the fourth quarter, I think, of that game when the news broke. But the Mavericks game, I'm pretty sure, was in the first half or early third quarter. So 2 very similar situations. And Trae Young getting traded from the Hawks, I think I did a social video for it. I think the writing was kind of on the wall in terms of how that trade was going to happen. But the fact that it happened in the middle of the game, I think is still hilarious. You see him dapping up all his teammates and assistant coaches and coaches on the bench, and everyone pretty much knows what just happened. Everybody's reacting on their phones in the arena. So it's kind of, I don't know how that would be from a player's perspective, because I imagine it's pretty awkward, having to leave the court middle of the game because you're not on the team anymore.
Oh yeah, it has to be. It has to be awkward. That was my initial thought. But you were confused at first about why he wanted to go to DC. Why was that?
I was confused about it because I figured at this point in his career, Trae Young is, I think, 25, 26 years old. I don't know his exact age off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it's around that range. He's a guy.
He's 27.
27. Okay. So pushing 30, essentially.
He's in his prime right now. That's basically what it's saying.
Okay. He's pushing 30 to just put it that way. He's a guy who has been to an Eastern Conference Finals. And even though that was really the only real playoff success he's had when they went to the conference finals in 2021, he's made the playoffs multiple times, hasn't gotten out of the first round in any of the other series. But point being, he's kind of always been in situations where the team is ready to win. They're in win now mode, whether that's making the playoffs or making a push for a championship in a year where the Eastern Conference, it was really weird with injuries and teams just kind of lost early. So I struggled with him going to the Wizards because that's not the Wizards timeline. They are a rebuilding franchise. They drafted Alex Sarr. What was it? Number 2 overall last year. He looks like he's going to be a solid player. They have some other guys who are pretty good. Some other young players like Bub Carrington. They have another guy. I think Trey Johnson is the rookie they drafted out of Texas. And he's a really, really good player so far for them. So they have young pieces, but the point is, they're not in win now mode. So the timelines just don't match up to me. He's probably not going to play a whole lot for them because the Wizards are pretty much actively tanking without saying it because their pick is top 8 protected this year. And that means if it falls out of the top 8, then it goes to the Knicks. So they don't even get to keep their first-round draft pick if it falls out of the top 8. So their goal is to lose games, and you have a guy who's trying to win. I just feel like the timelines don't really add up.
I get what you're saying. What I didn't understand was why Atlanta made the trade. Like, DC, the Wizards making the trade actually makes sense. And I kind of talked to you about this off the air when it happened, which is I think Trae Young could be the centerpiece that the Wizards need to actually get this ball rolling with developing these players. I think about Trae Young and being always near the top, if not the top of the assist leaders every year for the NBA, especially in the last 5 years.
Right.
And I think about what he could do for Alex Sarr's game. That combination is probably going to be great. Give it 2 years from now. That could be borderline all-star duo based on how they play and their availabilities. But I think of it from the Atlanta perspective. I understand why DC would make the trade, but Atlanta didn't make sense to me, and I'll tell you why. Yes, the Hawks have what looks to be a future superstar with Jalen Johnson. But I feel like they didn't even give Trae Young a real opportunity at a run to work with this team. And what I mean by this team, I'm talking about the whole team. I think a lot of people don't even realize that Kristaps Porzingis is on this team because he hasn't played much.
Right.
Him and Trae Young, I think they've played. You can probably count on one hand or to your hands how many games they've played together because Trae Young's been hurt too. So I feel like Atlanta jumped the gun a little early on making this trade. I almost feel like they kind of bought into the outside pressure, which is Trae Young is not a good centerpiece right now for this team. You got to go with Jalen Johnson. Trae Young doesn't play good defense, which elements of that are true. I think some of it is dramatized. I think Trae Young has become a better defender. He's not a good defender, but he's gotten better in the last 5 to 6 years as an NBA player. But I just feel like Atlanta pulled the trigger too early. Now, you want to get something in return for Trae Young because you didn't. I agree with you. The writing was on the wall when they didn't give him the extension.
Yeah.
But you want to get something in return, and you got CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert, which is not nothing. CJ McCollum is a very savvy veteran who I just watched the Hawks Warriors game the other night. Like, he gave us the business. He had a buzzer beater for crying out loud.
Still hoop.
He can still hoop. Unk still got it.
Unk still got it.
And Corey Kispert is a very solid reserve player that I think can fit well into the rotation, but you got no draft picks. You didn't get any draft picks, which, what the hell? Like,
yeah.
I always think back, and again, this is not healthy to think about, but every couple years when a player at Trae Young's caliber or around Trae Young's caliber gets a player like that will get traded, and it'll always be viewed as they didn't get enough because there will be a player always a tier below who got way more in their trade. The Desmond Bane trade this summer was the prime example.
Yeah.
How many picks did they get? What, 4?
4 picks.
Yeah.
4 unprotected, I believe.
And you couldn't even get one
draft
for Trae Young? Like, what on earth? Like, so I think the Wizards, I would get, I mean, like, scale 1 to 10, I get this Trae Young trade like 7.5, realistically, maybe an 8, because you really didn't give up that much. You bought low on Trae Young.
Yeah.
And, if it doesn't work out, you don't need to re-sign him. You can let him walk in free agency. I doubt that's going to happen. I imagine that they're going to pay him, and that's probably partially why he wanted to go there too. But you give him a contract, it doesn't work out, you can let him go when he's like 32. And by that point, you'll understand if it works because your young core that you have now will be entering their prime, will be making that leap. But Atlanta, Atlanta, just a bad look for the trade. Trae Young, I feel like Trae Young was also just a huge face of Atlanta sports. Like, can you name a Falcons player that has the same motion as Trae Young? Maybe Drake London.
Of current players?
Yeah, current player. Like, from this era, from the last 6 years. You can't even name a player from the Falcons from, like, 2020, aside from, like, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones.
Yeah. Maybe Bijan Robinson can get into that.
Oh, yeah, he's on the way up. Didn't he lead scrimmage yards this year, I think?
Led in scrimmage yards, yeah.
So, yeah, he's up there. But, like, Trae Young, during the Falcons' 28-3 blown season, to now, Trae Young was like the number one Atlanta athlete, I feel like.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do feel like if I were to put myself in the position of the Hawks as to why they wanted to make this trade now, I can see why you think they might have jumped the gun on it. But if I were them, I would be like, we're still playing for something this season. And when Trae Young is on the court, the numbers tell you, the eye test tells you, for some reason, he's just not clicking with this team. Like, I don't know if that means he needs more time or it just wasn't a great fit because he was injured for a long time with an MCL sprain or something like that. But I pointed to the one stretch they had when he returned from injury and they lost 7 or 8 games in a row. And then he misses a game or two and then they go back to winning. So I think it was just a defensive fit thing that didn't really work in Atlanta anymore. And in terms of his impact on Atlanta sports culture, I do think there was a time where he was like the real deal premier athlete in Atlanta. But there were clips of one of his final games there, I think it was against the Knicks, of him being booed in that arena. So I think maybe it was just like the culmination of trade rumors. Fans are seeing that when he's playing, the team isn't doing good. So I think a divorce was needed for the two sides. I do agree with you in that the return they got for him was just it wasn't adequate for what Trae Young gave you, the caliber of player that he is. To not even be able to get a draft pick for him is pretty crazy. And I wonder if the Hawks were to take a different approach, I wonder what it would have looked like in the offseason where they maybe could have gotten better offers from other teams that were out there to get some more compensation for him. But I think they viewed it from the perspective of, we still want to play for something this season. We can run our team through Jalen Johnson and we're just going to get whatever we can get for this guy, which I think also tells you the trajectory of Trae Young's career. I say this like with all due respect, of course, I'm not sure how much longer he's going to last in the NBA. And what I mean by that is I feel like he is one of those players who we could see sort of get blackballed later in his career because the defense is just so glaring. The defensive struggles, I should say, are so glaring that what he gives you on offense just can't make up for it. And he later on becomes a player, like once those offensive skills sort of die down a little bit, he's not really going to have anything to fall back on. And teams aren't going to want a guy who's like generously listed at 6'1", maybe. I don't even know if he's that tall. He might be like 6 feet. I'm not sure. I don't know if teams are going to want a guy on their team who just can't. He's one of the worst defenders in the league. Even though he's not as bad as he used to be, he's still one of the worst defenders in the league. And you can see how his defense affects his team because of how the Hawks play when he is on the court and how they played when he was not on the court. So yeah, we'll see how this Wizards stint goes. I think, like you said, I think it's going to be exciting because the Wizards haven't had a superstar player to cheer about since prime John Wall or like Bradley Beal when he was going bar for bar with Steph for the scoring title in, 2021? Yeah. Then they were one of the worst teams in the league, so it didn't even matter. But like when the Wizards were relevant, like John Wall was that guy.
Like 2017, when they were battled the Celtics in the playoffs.
And Trae Young has a chance to be that guy for the Wizards. I hope it works out. But the fact that he got traded and couldn't even get a pick for him, like they say that you're like what your worth is when it comes to these trades is what teams are willing to give you. And the fact that they couldn't even get a draft pick for him, I think, is pretty telling on what the league thinks of Trae Young.
Fair. He's a dying breed, man. That small guard. There's not many of them anymore. Yeah. Shifting from trades that happen to trades that we think might happen, and this isn't just a tinfoil hat thing. This is very highly speculated. John Morant might be out of Memphis in the near future. And by near future, I mean before the February 5th. This is not going to be a day of deadline move. There's been a lot of talks about it, not really talking about where he's going to go. There's been speculation. The talking heads have their thoughts, obviously. John Morant out of Memphis. What are your thoughts?
So immediately when I saw that there were trade rumors surrounding Ja, the big thing about Trae Young getting traded was everybody was like, the Hawks couldn't get a draft pick for him. The compensation, the return they got was weak. And I think a lot of people were like, well, if Trae Young went for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert, imagine what the Grizzlies could get for John Morant. But in my head, I'm kind of thinking the opposite, because I think if Trae Young didn't even go for that great of a package, I I can see a reality where it's kind of similar with John Morant, because when you look at his situation, for one, like Trae Young, he's shown that he's not the most durable guard, which makes sense because of how he plays, his flashy dunks, relies heavily on his athleticism. He's not the greatest shooter. He's kind of streaky when it comes to shooting. It's not that he can't shoot. It's just it's not reliable. So once that athleticism goes down, what are you going to have to fall back on? Like, certainly not your jump shot, at least from what we've seen so far. And the defense is questionable as well. And this wasn't an issue for Trae Young, and it is for John Morant, and it's going to follow him for the rest of his career, whether he likes it or not. You have to talk about his intangibles. They're not that great. His leadership, off the court issues, getting into trouble, like with Instagram Live or like whatever it is, doing certain celebrations on the court. He's a lot to deal with, and he's not the most coachable player. He's been getting into spats with the coaching staff this year on the Grizzlies. He's been like really like difficult for the media to get quotes out of him when they're asking him questions about his future with the team. He just got into an argument, like a heated argument with one of his teammates in practice the other day. So this is also a situation where I feel like it's time for a divorce, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Grizzlies get a package in return that's not as substantial as some people think it might be.
What team do you think, not necessarily where he would fit, but what team do you think would come calling to make a move for John Morant?
So he obviously needs a new situation to start fresh. Like Trae Young, presumably wants to be on a team that's ready to win now. I think the Heat could be an option. I think Miami could be a team that, like, theoretically could do well with him. And I think in terms of him fitting the Heat culture, like buying into a team, like we, not me, that kind of attitude, I don't know if that will be the easiest thing for him, but I think if anybody can manage him, I think Eric Spoelstra and his coaching staff can do it. Would that be enough for them to compete in the Eastern Conference this year? I'm not sure. I don't think it would make them better than Detroit right now, or Boston, or even the Knicks for that matter.
Yeah, I was going to say.
If the Sixers stay healthy, I know we say it every year. We say it every single year when it comes to the Sixers. Like, if the Sixers stay healthy, I'm not sure Miami is better than them at this point, even if they do get John Morant.
I don't think they are.
Yeah. So
Norman Powell's a great scorer, but
yeah,
you just talked about how the trade package that they would get for John Morant probably isn't as much as people might think off the rip.
Yeah.
But I just think about, you probably got to give up 2 players for John Morant.
Yeah.
And the Grizzlies are giving away their all-star guard. They're probably going to ask. I would imagine that it's probably like you might need to give up like Nikola Jovic, or I don't know the rest of the Heat roster off the top of my head, but like
Jaime Jaquez is a guy maybe.
I don't know if I feel like Jaime Jaquez might be. I could see Jaime Jaquez in a pick.
Yeah.
Or I could see like 2 players, one of them being Nikola Jovic.
Yeah.
Or Jovic. I think it's Jovic. Sorry.
Hello, where's another guy too, but I don't think they would trade him.
I think because I think it's too conflicting with Jaren Jackson.
Yeah.
The Grizzlies could maybe ask, but I don't know if the Grizzlies would actually be. I feel like if Memphis wants to make this trade, it's not about who's your best available player. It's what player actually fits into what we're looking for here. But in that case, I think it would be they would ask for another guard. So it might be Jovic. I could see Hawkins in a pick, but Pat Riley's pretty stingy. We know this.
Yeah. Now, if you want to talk about a player that the Grizzlies could actually get something substantial for, I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is the guy, because he has injury problems as well. But what he gives you on defense is, when he's healthy, he's one of the best defenders in the league, even though he's probably, for a guy who's 7 feet tall, like one of the worst rebounders I've ever seen. He can't grab rebounds. It's like him and Miles Turner. Like, why are you 7 feet tall if you can't go up and grab more rebounds? I don't know.
It's crazy that DeAndre Ayton has shed that
to return for Triple J if they just want to blow this whole thing up and rebuild, which is what I think they should probably do, because I think this era of Grizzlies basketball, the John Morant era, I think their title window has been shut for a while. I used this line last year on ECPOD, as we used to call it. Like, the window has been shut for so long, it's starting to collect dust. Like, that's where the title window is at this point. So I think like a full-scale rebuild would probably be the the answer for the Grizzlies. Like,
who do you build around for the Grizzlies though?
Like, I don't even really like the young players on their team. Is GG Jackson still that guy? Like, is he still, I don't know. Like, they would probably have to trade everyone, start tanking, and then hope you can hit on someone in the draft. Like,
the thing is that the bottom hasn't fallen out. Like, they're 17 and 22. Obviously, they're going nowhere fast, but they're not. The bottom hasn't fallen out. Like, they're still not the worst team in the Western Conference. I would like to point out that Bleacher Report reported today that John Morant bought a $3.2 million house in Miami.
That's also why I brought up the Heat as a potential destination, because I think it's like that's the one that's gaining a lot of traction so far.
I mean, when I'm looking at the roster, they got Santi Aldama.
Okay.
You got GG Jackson, like you said. But like you go down the list, it's not like respectfully, Scottie Pippen Jr. Respectfully, you got like Cam Spencer's been hooping this year. Yeah. But you're right. It's not like DC where you plug in Trae Young and ideally that's a roster that can actually probably compete for a playoff spot, not this year, but maybe next year.
Because my thing is, if you're trading John Morant, then you're basically kind of saying you want to start like a semi-rebuild or retool, right? Because you're trading your franchise player.
Oh, if you're trading John Morant, you're signaling you want to rebuild. And I think at that point you want to show respect to Jaren Jackson Jr. and ask if he wants to be traded. And if he wants to be traded, fulfill that. Because Jaren Jackson Jr. could try and be the centerpiece of whatever the Grizzlies try to put together after they trade John Morant. But he needs, like, Jaren Jackson is more at the best like a 1B, but probably a number 2.
Yeah. On a team trying to win a championship, I would probably put him at like that 2 range. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great 2, but I don't know if he's a good 1.
Yeah.
So interesting. I do think that if it was going to work for anybody, it would be the Miami Heat. I'm just curious about what that trade package looks like. Because you do bring up a good point about how, Trae Young, for what he was traded, that's obviously how he was perceived, what the league perceives his worth as. And Trae Young doesn't have the perceived intangible issues that John Morant has with off the court antics, leadership. So it'll be interesting to see how that alters it. Pat Riley's stingy, man. We've seen that in the past.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what that trade package looks like. But who knows? Maybe it's not an issue at all. I want to like always, give you the floor now at this point, because we're almost about halfway through. Something happened in Milwaukee the other day that I knew you wanted to talk about. As soon as I saw the headline for it, I was like, well, first of all, 2 things happened, which was earlier this week, Giannis reaffirmed his commitment to Milwaukee. What are your thoughts on that? You think he's lying? I know you know him personally. I know you've been in those meetings.
I'm sure Bucks fans who are scared to death of the thought of him being traded, when he comes out and says, I'm never going to request a trade, I'm sure they love to hear that, but we know what the writing on the wall is in this situation. We know how this needs to end. The Bucks they're not a good team in this situation. It keeps getting worse and worse and worse, because last night they lost to the Timberwolves. They lost by 30. They ended up losing by 33 points, 109 to 106. They were down 31 points at halftime with no Anthony Edwards and no Rudy Gobert. Both of those guys were out for the Timberwolves, and they were down 31 at half. And granted, the Bucks didn't have Miles Turner, so they weren't at full strength either.
That's not a 1-to-1 comp.
That's not an excuse. Miles Turner would not have made a 31-point difference in that game. And in the third quarter, Bucks come out, and then Giannis immediately scores an and one, starts booing to the crowd, boos to the fans, because the Bucks got booed into the halftime locker room, which I get it. Like, they're playing like garbage. They beat the Lakers the other night, but that was kind of a fluky win. They really only won that game because Giannis made 2 insane defensive plays at the end of the game, with the block on LeBron at the rim and then poking him like literally the next possession. And they got lucky because Luka fouled out. Like, they got Luka on a bad night. That's only, I think, the second time in his career he's ever fouled out, which I think speaks more to how bad he is as a defender, that he's never been in a position to where he could potentially foul out of a game. But anyway, I'll save that for another conversation at another time. In terms of Giannis booing the fans, I thought it was a little, I'll say cringe. I didn't really like it because of the fact that the team is down 31 at half. They've been playing like garbage recently. They're losing games that they shouldn't lose. So like, what do you expect the fans to do? I get that it's a home game and booing your team, especially like your franchise player, because a lot of people will say that they weren't booing Giannis. They were just booing everybody around him, the coaches and everybody else. Well, Giannis still plays for the team. Those are still his teammates. He's still on that team. So if you're booing everybody else on the team, you're essentially booing him as well.
Mm-hmm.
The gesture of him booing back to the fans, I kind of think that's like a thing he's trying to – it's what he's been doing all year, basically. He's done the whole thumbs down boo thing, but it's always been at road games when he gets booed at other teams' arenas, mainly when he did it against the Pacers earlier this year when he hit that walk-off buzzer beater on them and then grabbed his crotch after he hit the shot too and then started booing at the fans. So it's like a thing he's trying to incorporate into his like villain arc this year as he's
rage baiting.
Yeah, exactly. So – look, I get the frustration on both sides. It sucks as for someone in Giannis' position to be booed like that. And then the fans, like they want to see good basketball. They have one of the best players in the league and they're playing just horrendously bad. It's honestly impressive, some of the losses that they have this year, because when I read some of them off you would kind of be like, how are they losing these games? Because I guess it's just Doc Rivers finding a way to beat Doc Rivers. They lost to the Timberwolves last night, obviously. No Edwards, no Gobert. Down 31 at half, lost the game by 33. The game before that, they played the Nuggets to finish off their West Coast road trip.
I saw that.
And they were down. There was no Jokic, no Jamal Murray, no Christian Brown, no Jonas Valanciunas. So they had no bigs. Like their best guard was out, and they lost that game to the Nuggets down 4 of their best players. And then they beat the Lakers the game before, lost to the Warriors the game before that, 2 losses to the Wizards this year, lost to the Nets by 45 points, didn't score in like the final 8 minutes of the game. In that game, they've lost to Charlotte once this year. They've lost, I think there was some other bad team I'm sure they lost to that I'm forgetting, but clearly something's not working in Milwaukee. And I think Giannis, like every game they lose, honestly, the happier I get, because I think the chances of him getting traded increase with each loss. So hopefully that's true, but I have no idea. I feel like the reality is just going to be I'm watching a year of prime Giannis get wasted on a shit team.
I feel like maybe the trade still does go through, but I just feel like, not that you care about this, but I feel like if he were to get traded after verbally, publicly reaffirming his commitment to Milwaukee, that just makes it look even worse.
Yeah.
Because it's like Kendrick Perkins, I think it was Kendrick Perkins, was basically saying don't be a coward or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that who said that? I think it was Perkins.
It was Kendrick Perkins. I get what he meant, but like
no, I get what he meant, but I thought he was in the wrong to say that.
Yeah.
But with Giannis publicly reaffirming his commitment to Milwaukee, if that trade goes through now, then that's a bad look. I do think that that's a really bad look, because even though it would never be confirmed, it could be a he said, they said type of thing. Everybody knows that Bucks franchise would not want to trade Giannis on their own.
Yeah.
Like, so I do think it makes me as an outsider, a third party person, really believe that the trade's not happening, but who knows? We've seen crazier ones.
Yeah. The reality of the situation is Giannis wants to have it both ways. I'm sure my gut feeling is that he knows the situation in Milwaukee has run its course. And I think he wants to get traded, but he also wants to be in a situation where he's, like I've said before, protecting the image of loyalty. He would never willingly leave the franchise that drafted him, gave him a chance, where he learned how to, became one of the best basketball players ever. He wants to have a situation where it's like, hey, like you said, the Bucks traded Giannis because they didn't want him anymore, which we both know would obviously never happen, because we know that once the Bucks trade Giannis, they're going into rebuild mode and they're not going to be competitive for Lord knows how long. So he wants to play it both ways, and you just can't do that. I think if you want to get traded, you have to. And I don't think he would be a villain in that situation. I think people understand that when you give 12 or 13 years to a franchise, like we're seeing in the NFL, to kind of make this comparison, like John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin, like two coaches that were coaching teams for like as long as basically you and I have both been alive, 18, 19 seasons. Like that's a long time. And sometimes things just run its course. 12, 13 years playing for one team to start your career is a long time. And I know he wants to be a guy like Steph, Kobe Bryant, who plays their whole career with one franchise and is able to win multiple teams with one franchise. But I think what's best for his career is to move on. And you kind of see it a little bit with Steph in Golden State. It just doesn't look as bad. It's kind of a similar situation because he's in a spot where he wants to win one more ring before he retires, but it's obviously not as bad because he's going to retire as bare minimum a 4-time NBA champion, top 10 player ever, and one of the greatest, the greatest shooter of all time. Like his legacy is stamped. So that's why I don't think the situation is as bad or comparable. But for a guy who's still trying to cement his legacy as a top 15, maybe top 10 guy of all time, I think Giannis just has to make the difficult decision and do what's best for him, which I think is moving on to another team. Like
I think
grass will be greener.
I think about this is apples to oranges, but I think about the Vince Carter situation when he left Toronto all those years ago. It was very public. It was very awkward, and Toronto fans hated him for a decade. Yeah. But now you fast forward to modern day, and his jersey's hanging in the rafters, and they celebrate him and they honored him, and it's all love. Why do I bring that up? I bring that up because I think the same situation can happen to Giannis. I think there's always going to be a rough patch. I think especially at this point, because it's been a will he, won't he type of thing, I think you just can't avoid fans being upset about it.
Yeah.
Had this trade just happened, it would have been probably like a Dame Lillard type of thing, which ironically he went to Milwaukee. Dame Lillard type of thing where it's, you gave everything you had. In this case, Giannis brought him a ring. Thanks for everything. Wish you the best of luck. You'll get a standing ovation every time you come to the city.
Yeah.
But now the boos are probably inevitable if he does get traded, just because it's been so much all season about will he or won't he still be playing in this uniform.
Yeah.
But I bring up the Vince Carter situation because I do think that because of everything that Giannis has done for the franchise, inevitably, I do think it circles back and his jersey gets retired and he's remembered as the greatest Milwaukee Buck of all time. But, back to what you said, you can't have it both ways. You kind of just got to put your foot down and you got to decide if you really want to leave Milwaukee or do you want to stick it out and deal with the consequences of just kind of being on what you said, not me, is a bad team.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how it goes. The trade deadline is
February,
like at the beginning of next month. We'll see if Giannis is still on the team. I'm getting tired of watching this team. Like my eyes are like I can barely. It's been a rough season. They got the Spurs tomorrow. Like I'm surprised. Like hopefully they don't lose by like 30. They play the Hawks on Monday. Thunder Wednesday. Nuggets again. Mavericks, Sixers, Wizards, who they can't seem to beat. Boston. Maybe they beat the Bulls. I don't know, dude.
What if the Bucks make a move at the deadline to bring Giannis another star or another co-star?
So the only thing,
like Michael Porter Jr.'s name's been rumored.
I was gonna say MPJ is a guy I think that can work because they need a scoring wing at this point. Kyle Kuzma is too hot and cold. He's not a guy that you can necessarily rely on as being a starting caliber forward on a championship team who can, like Michael Porter Jr.'s. I don't know if he's going to give you the defense that you want, but he can make shots. And
he's been a starting wing on a championship team.
Exactly. We saw him with Jokic in Denver and Jamal Murray. That situation wouldn't be as good, but he's shown that he can play a role, and I think he would play that role well next to Giannis. Unironically, I think like a guy that we didn't touch on in terms of trade deadline, Anthony Davis has been in trade rumors too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's too big of a risk because of his injury concerns. Like he's going to miss at least 6 weeks or whatever because of his recent hand injury. But I think like if the Bucks wanted to like pull the trigger and trade Miles Turner and whoever else and get Anthony Davis. I don't know if that would have to be a 3-team trade because the Bucks can only trade. They have 2 first-round picks left that they can trade, like 2031 and 2032 first-round picks. So I'm sure they would like trade both of those to get AD. Like I think Giannis and AD could be like a solid pairing if AD is playing center. He can still give you a lot of in terms of shot blocking and scoring. So like if they wanted to do something like that, I don't think they need a guard though. Like I didn't really buy into any like Trae Young rumors that were surrounding them. They're a team that's been linked to John Morant, but I don't think that would help them at all. I don't think their guard play is that bad. Like Kevin Porter Jr. and Ryan Rollins probably wouldn't be starting guards on a championship team. They would be backups, but I don't think that's the main problem. I think they need a guy who can help them with rebounding and defense. And guys like that would be like Michael Porter Jr. would be a plus because of his scoring. They don't really have a scoring wing. And I don't think he's a terrible defender either, but I think like Anthony Davis would be a cool fit for a guy who can give you a lot on defense and can obviously also give you some offense too.
True. Speaking of trades, well, we got other stuff to go through, but the Anthony Davis trade is always very interesting because he is hurt. He's not going to require surgery on his hand, but he's still going to miss multiple weeks. It's unfortunate because Anthony Davis is clearly still one of the best forwards in basketball, and yet he cannot stay healthy.
Yeah.
He just cannot stay healthy. So I really don't think he's going to get traded. The Mavs have gone out and said they don't feel pressure to trade him. Which a trade, by the way, while he's hurt, would just be just the biggest cherry on top to how failed Nico Harrison's experiment went. Nico
might have been wrong.
Nico was wrong. Ironically, the Mavs are starting to pick up the pace. Ever since he got fired, they have started to get better. But again, it's not the same as the Trae Young trade, but Kyrie and AD haven't played like any basketball together, next to none.
Yeah.
There's been no way to tell how those two would gel, and I think that's a great duo. But there's no way to tell how that would have played out with everybody else on the roster, especially with Cooper Flagg. Another name I want to bring up is Jonathan Kuminga. I got the Warriors hat on. I think he gets traded. Finally, I really do think because he's been sitting on the bench. He hasn't been playing, like he hasn't been doing anything.
Who's in the sweepstakes for him? Who's interested?
Unsure. I just think he gets traded. One of the ESPN put out a hypothetical trade today, which is a 3-team trade between the Warriors, the Pelicans, and the Jazz, where the Pelicans end up with Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody and a plethora of first round 3 picks. The Jazz get Kevon Looney, 2 second rounds, and a cash consideration. And the Warriors get Jordan Hawkins and Trey Murphy.
That would be a really good trade for the
Warriors. That's a good trade for the Warriors. I really think it is. Now, is it going to happen? Probably not, because Mike Dunleavy sits on his hands all day and literally does nothing. But the Jonathan Kuminga situation makes sense. At the same time, it's super confusing because if you wanted to trade this man, why would you not put him out there so he can raise his stock?
Yeah.
So teams can see him averaging 20 a night and be like, wow, that deserves 2 players and a pick. That or something like that. That deserves a 1-to-1 replacement in terms of caliber player, and this is what caliber we think he is. So it doesn't make sense. I think Steve Kerr is understandably receiving criticism for it because we've been having questions and we just don't have any answers. Yeah. All that is to say is that I think it's clear. I think he just gets traded. I don't think they've gone about it. I think they've executed the situation poorly because he literally got signed. He got a contract extension. We were on air like the day he got his contract extension. Yeah. So it's been executed poorly, but regardless, I think they cut bait and I think he gets traded. What he gets traded, who he gets traded for, or what draft picks he gets traded for is yet to be seen because again, he hasn't really shown anything.
Who knows? We'll see.
He hasn't shown anything. But
that hypothetical trade you brought up from ESPN, I think it's funny that the Jazz are the 3rd team in there because they'd be helping another West team get substantially better like they did last year with the Luka trade. They're kind of the 3rd team in there that everybody forgets about.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting too.
Well, the Jazz actually they get Kevon Looney in this situation, which I don't think is the issue is that now you have a plethora of front court players because you have Lauri Markkanen, you have Kyle Filipowski, you have Yusuf Nurkic, then you would have Kevon Looney.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bit much, but like I don't know. I don't think they get worse if that's the case. They give up some draft capital, obviously, but I don't think that's the bad trade. But that's the dream scenario for the Warriors because Trey Murphy III on this Warriors team, I think, is an immediate spark plug. You don't have to freaking rely on pods, which, by the way, he hasn't been playing that poorly. It's just I think it's become a meme at this point. But Trey Murphy just became the all-time Pelicans leader in three-pointers. I think that's what it was.
That's crazy.
So I'm gonna have to fact check that. I might have just made that up. I don't think it was. Fact check me on that. Fact check me on that. I
was gonna say about the Jazz. One guy, I think if he didn't get hurt earlier this season, I think if Walker Kessler was still healthy, if he didn't have that shoulder injury at the beginning of the year, I think he would probably be like the hottest name on the trade market that right now that isn't Trae Young, like one of the better shot blocking centers in the league, because Anthony Davis wants a contract extension, but he's not healthy. So I think teams are going to hesitate to trade for him. And I think that's mainly why the Mavericks want to get rid of him. We said everything about John Morant, his intangibles. Like, do you want to take that chance? I think if Walker Kessler was healthy, I think the Jazz would be getting a lot of calls from a lot of teams as that guy at the trade deadline that like every championship contender wants to do everything to get to sort of like complete their roster as like a certified shot blocking center on their team. So that would have been interesting to see like how that would have played out if he didn't get hurt earlier this year.
Trey Murphy has the most career threes for Pelicans, by the way. He's at 716.
That's a stat.
I didn't even think about Walker. It happened this year, by the way. That's why I remembered it. I forgot about Walker Kessler when I was talking about Jazz front court players because he's been hurt. And he's a dog. I remember there were rookie of the year conversations with his name in it last year. But I think another trade, just going down the list, I think one other one that is the Toronto Raptors. I keep asking. I haven't asked for Raptors dialogue recently, but I'm just going to provide it now. The Raptors have been kind of cruising. They've cooled down since their hot start. Remember
that 2 seed in the East.
They were the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, and we said I don't think the Pistons and Raptors have been the 1-2 seed ever.
Yeah,
like ever in NBA history. So they've kind of cooled off. They had a really nice win versus the Sixers the other night, and then proceeded to lose by double digits literally the next night to the Sixers.
Yeah,
which I think is the number one epitome of Toronto Raptors basketball this year. ESPN threw a hypothetical trade out there where they trade Brook Lopez.
I don't like. Why would they do that?
Because they need big man help because Jakob Poeltl has not played. He has a back injury.
I see.
So they need help. I just don't know if it's Brook Lopez, respectfully. I saw Splash Mountain hit, what was it, 8 or 9 threes this season?
I don't think the Raptors need the Brook Lopez experience. They don't need that.
So they've been using Mamu in place of Jakob Poeltl.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and Colin Murray Boyles, but like he's a rookie. I think he gets better, obviously. He had a good game versus the Sixers the other night. But
Boyles, famous lover of Toronto.
Yes, exactly. So that's another team. Another one that they talk about is the Spurs getting more help. There's talks of a Yabusele trade. Your guy.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The Spurs trade Yabusele. The Knicks get Cam Whitmore, and the Wizards get Jeremy Sohan. Jeremy Sohan and Trae Young is one of the on the same team. That's a team of all time.
That team has a roster full of guys. That's a random guy team. If there were to be one.
Another one that I think what's another one that ESPN brought up that I didn't think about until I realized because I low-key forgot that bro was on the team. What if the Wolves trade Rob Dillingham?
He's barely playing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Lottery pick, by the way.
And I think when people drafted him, they got like really excited for what he could be because like he wasn't going to be that starting point guard because they still had Mike Conley who was playing at a really high level, like one of the best vets in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So like he wasn't going to start, but the fact that he's like not even in their rotation, what is it, year 2?
Yeah,
he was a rookie last year. Like the fact that he's not even in the rotation is kind of concerning if you're a Timberwolves fan that we spent a lottery pick on this guy and he can't even get minutes on this team. So we'll see how that goes.
ESPN proposes a trade to the Bulls for Trae Jones. The Wolves give up Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr. for Trae Jones, brother of, might I add, Tyus Jones.
Okay,
that's just a Tyus Jones shout for the day.
I feel like really quickly before we move on, you brought up the Bulls. Like, are they gonna be sellers at the trade deadline for once? Are they gonna give up on this like mid experiment?
I feel like they already did when they traded Levine and DeRozan.
That's true, but like Vucevic is still there. I think Ayo Dosunmu could like do a lot of really good things on a team that's trying to win, like a team that needs a guard off the bench. I feel like they have some names that should be considered in the trade circles.
I think about
like they're not going to trade Giddey, but or
Pat Williams. I feel like has been whispered in trades for a while too, because he just has never really turned into the guy like the caliber player. I think I'm pretty sure he was also a lottery pick. So Pat Williams.
Oh, Patrick Williams. Yeah,
Patrick Williams.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's not a bad player by any stretch of the mind. He's pretty good, but I just don't think the Bulls expected a little bit more.
Yeah.
So a lot to talk about, a lot to look after. I think the point of why we bring this up is, we're talking about the big names. John Morant is probably going to get traded. Trae Young has already been traded, and these are weeks before the deadline. Is Giannis going to get traded? I don't think so. You still want it to happen, though. But there's probably going to be some other – I think there's going to be a lot of rotation, like not rotational players, but other important players getting moved around that just aren't as big of names that I really think can alter the timeline of the NBA. And I'm not talking about, for years, although it's still possible, but just this season. I do think that, let's say the Warriors are able to trade Kuminga and they get Trey Murphy, for example. I think the Warriors become a top 6 team. I think they can avoid the plan.
Yeah.
I do think they can avoid the plan. And for the Warriors, why would you not want to? I'm off the top of my head, I don't know what their draft capital availability is right now, but why would you not sell your draft capital now because you're just trying to win now for Stephen Curry?
Right.
Like I would sell the barn I'd sell all my picks to go get a player. And you're very fortunate enough to have a rising star like Kuminga to trade as well that, teams would be interested in. Like, I don't know how a Kuminga Zion Williamson pairing would work.
It says the Warriors do own their first round pick in this year.
Trade it. Like, literally package Kuminga with a first round pick and go get Vucevic. Like, go get a center.
Yeah.
Is Mike Dunleavy Jr. going to finally get the Warriors a center? I have the hat on. Are we finally good? Hold on. I'm going to eat the mic again because Mike Dunleavy needs to go get the Warriors a center. You have Jonathan Kuminga on the trading block. Everybody knows this. Go get a center. You have your first round pick and Jonathan Kuminga. That should be ample to get you a really good center that I think can get the Warriors out of the play-in and into the top 6. And no, I'm not talking about Brook Lopez. Don't go get Brook Lopez. All due respect to Brook Lopez.
I think Mike Dunleavy Jr.'s legacy as Warriors GM is going to be trading your only good, young, valuable asset, Jordan Poole, for Chris Paul, and then allegedly macking on some random fan in the middle of a playoff game against the Timberwolves last year.
Bob Myers would never. Jordan Poole, I keep going back to this. The Jordan Poole situation, it kind of had to happen just because Draymond punched the hell out of that. Like, he punched the sonic rings out of him.
Yeah.
All that is to be said is that Mike Dunleavy Jr. has not done anything for Stephen Curry, like, at all. Oh, my God, you got me out. You got him Al Horford. 2025, now 2026 Al Horford. And you know what that results in? You know what this team has culminated in? Scoring 10 points in the first quarter versus the 76ers. Don't think I forgot about that. So, like, I didn't even know they own the first round pick this year. Like, go get Vucevic. If the Bulls are ready to blow that thing up, go get Vucevic.
And
I didn't even think about that. That's the
I
bar.
give him credit for going and getting Jimmy Butler from the Heat, but that clearly has not worked out the way that they thought it was going.
It hasn't worked enough. No, you know what? People were excited about it, and I'm not trying to be like I was right the whole time because I was never public about this. My hunch was that it's going to be a great pick, and it's a big PR boost because, Jimmy Butler, more often than not, is a fun guy to have on your team, brings attention to the team. But it wasn't going to resolve the glaring issue that the Warriors lacked front court talent.
Yeah.
They don't have a center, like a good center. And that is still the case almost a year to the day of the Jimmy Butler trade. Jimmy Butler don't play center. Like, it just doesn't work. And Draymond is still obviously a very competent defender. He's still a good defender.
The clamps on Giannis last week.
He put clamps on a lot of people. But you know how much better this team would be if they had a center? You don't even need to get rid of Al Horford. Don't disrespect him like that. Like, do not trade that man. But go get, like, Vucevic. Now, if the Bulls don't want to trade, then that's it. That's because the Bulls, I can imagine the Bulls being like, no.
I don't know what their plan is. I want to know what the Bulls' plan is. Like, are they trying to build a contender with Giddey and Kobe White? Like, is that the plan? I don't understand what they're doing.
I do think that I thought that they were going to clean. They were cleaning house. I think this is them trying again. It's kind of 1 foot in and 1 foot out the door. It's kind of like Milwaukee.
Well, I think they gave Billy Donovan a contract extension.
It's kind of like It's kind of like the Milwaukee Bucks post Michael Redd, pre-peak Giannis.
Yeah.
Like, the Bucks would not fully commit to a tank, but they did draft Jabari Parker second overall, but they would not really fully commit to a tank. Andrew Bogut was there too. Same thing, I feel like, with the Bulls. They refuse to let the bottom fall out, when in reality, sometimes it's got to get worse before it gets better. And you know what you could do? You could have Jonathan Kuminga with a first-round pick hand-fed to you if you just give us Nikola Vucevic. I'll take somebody. You could throw somebody else in there too. Although I do think, because that is a lopsided trade in my opinion. But the Warriors need a center so bad, bro. Like, the problems clearly have not been resolved. Yeah. Clearly, we talked about this in October, and it's January, and we're still having this dialogue. Whatever. Anyway, one final one that I was thinking about was, are the Lakers going to make a move? You see Rich Paul the other day talking about if he was on the Lakers?
The other day.
Did you see that comment about how he would trade Austin Reeves?
Yeah, I did see that, I think.
That's insane.
Yeah. Rich Paul calls it like he sees it. I do respect that.
No, he does call it like he sees it, and he says
he represents a lot of players, and I know he's like best friends with LeBron, but that man is not afraid to say what he thinks. So
no, and a lot of a good amount of times, it's just he's saying the quiet stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not knocking him for it, but that got me thinking, because I'm like, the Lakers are kind of just rolling right now.
Which is funny and ironic, because the guy that the Lakers need to trade, even though he's still playing really well at 41 years old or whatever, is LeBron. Like, that's the guy
they're not trading LeBron.
The guy they need to get rid of. But it's just funny that the dialogue is they need to trade Austin Reeves. So,
well, ESPN proposed a Keon Ellis for Dalton Connect trade.
Dude, yeah, Dalton Connect. Remember that one game when he scored like 37 or something? Yeah. And then that failed Mark Williams trade happened, and then he kind of like never really recovered from that.
I mean, I don't know if I would recover from that either if I knew that my employer wanted to trade me and send me to Charlotte.
Yeah.
And then
just kidding. We were just
and then they were like, "Oh, I'm just playing with you. It's totally not because this player did not pass, physical, and therefore making the trade just impossible to be made." Yeah. Anyway, you're under contract here for a couple more years. Welcome back. Like, I don't blame them for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, this proposed one is Dalton Connect in a second for Keon Ellis. Keon Ellis has been hooping, which is kind of hard to tell because the Kings are chopped.
They're chuz.
So, anyway.
That's also another team that should be getting rid of their players at the deadline. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Russell Westbrook. Get rid of them. But I don't think they'll do that.
I don't think they're going to do that either.
Sacramento at this point would rather have butts in the seats than do what they should do and trade those aging veterans for assets so they can start rebuilding.
Well, it's almost like doing them justice, especially Debo. He just hit 26,000 points, which is crazy, by the way, because that man is known for mid-range jumpers. That quite literally means he shoots 1.5 times as many jumpers to get to that point threshold.
Probably. I don't know if I can think of a more significant free agent to a small market signing, like caliber of player going to a small market willingly as a free agent than DeMar DeRozan choosing to sign with the Kings. I can't think of one off the top of my head, like ever, that's happened where, granted, he wasn't as good as he used to be before. We all know that. But on the Bulls, he was still a 25 point per game scorer, not as impactful because they weren't winning like they were in 2021, 2022 before Lonzo Ball got hurt. But the fact that he willingly chose to, when he was still a very capable NBA player and still is, the fact that he chose to not go to the Lakers, not go to the Clippers. This man's from Compton, bro. And he didn't go to either of those teams, and he went to play for the Kings. Like, I still cannot get over that. And part of me, like, gives him a lot of props for it because I'm like, seeing the Kings do, like, when the Kings are good, I like seeing small market teams do good.
And the Kings have a lot of stuff rolling for them. Like, they did a uniform rebrand. They brought back some old uniforms. They look pretty nice. Their color scheme is pretty cool. They have a really nice arena. You and I have both seen it.
Yeah.
They light the beam. They have a really cool tradition. They have a lot of things that keep them relevant. The problem is that the product they put out on the court is not that good.
You know that SpongeBob clip where it was the Halloween episode from like the first season when Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob are sitting in the dark by the fire.
Yes.
And Mr. Krabs is like telling them some like ancient lore. That's gonna be me like when my kids like 30 years from now ask me about the 2023 Sacramento Kings that were
the beam team
that were the number 3 seed in the Western Conference and took the Warriors to 7 games in the first round.
The defending champion Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
And it literally took Stephen Curry's best playoff performance ever.
How good and how much aura did the 2023 Kings have? It depends. How much time do you have for me to tell
How much time do you have me to explain it? Yeah, literally. Before we go, today should we talk about trade, all that galore? We'll keep everybody updated, of course, on more of that. But today we're doing something special because today is the last day of All-Star voting before it closes. So Daniel and I put together he's already laughing. I can't keep a straight face. We put together who we believe, these are not who we believe are the 10 best players in the league. Okay. Let me clarify that. Or at least that's for me. I don't know how you did it. We have not seen these. I'm going to throw each of our all-star picks up and we're going to
one at a time.
We're going to do one at a time.
Okay.
So do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I feel like I can go first. We can show mine first.
Okay. 3. I have not seen these, people.
Okay.
All right, let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Okay. That's not ridiculous. I said that's not ridiculous. Wait a minute. This isn't ridiculous. You and I actually agreed on one of these players. I'll show you. One of these players that's on here that you might think, why is he on here? Okay. There's a rage bait here somewhere. Which one is the rage bait?
Which one is the rage bait? I think you can guess which one the rage bait is in the Western Conference. Right there. I think you can guess which one it is. for point of reference, Denny Avdia has been playing. Denny Avdia has been having a great season. He has skyrocketed up the scoring charts, by the way. He is
arguably
been the best small forward in the NBA this year. Arguably.
I have him right now as most improved player.
Yeah.
He's definitely most improved, which is crazy because he wasn't even like a nobody last year. He was a pretty solid player last year. And this year, he's definitely a top 20, probably a top 20 player in basketball right now. He's the best player on the Blazers.
Yeah.
And the Blazers are still kind of staying afloat. They just lost to the Warriors last night, but they are still kind of just hanging around. So if you had told me before the season that the Blazers would be better than the Grizzlies, I didn't know if I would believe you.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, that's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. The Eastern Conference, though, as I know that you're more invested there. Tell me about Donovan Mitchell over Jalen Brunson. I'm not saying I picked Jalen Brunson. I'm just saying, like, I feel like that's what a lot of people would do.
I'll just get right to it. I don't like watching Jalen Brunson play basketball. I feel like it's the same thing. It's the same thing with Shea, except it's just watered down and people don't talk about it as much. Jalen Brunson is just as much of a foul baiter as Shea, because I watch the Knicks like quite a bit because they either play the Bucks 3 or 4 times a year. Jalen Brunson does the same stuff. It's the same exact thing. Like, don't let the narratives fool you. Jalen Brunson is a foul baiter, and it doesn't get talked about as much as Shea because he hasn't been on as grand a stage. But I mean, conference finals, like, he's right there in terms of like the stage he's been on, but like he hasn't won. He's not as popular, so the narrative isn't there. But I just don't like watching him play. And I don't want, like, he's gonna be an all-star, but not on my team. Maybe on somebody else's team, but not my team. Like, he can come off the bench, but he's not gonna be
That's fair. Who is the worst foul baiter of the three? Luka, Shea, or Jalen Brunson? Like, the biggest one.
I think it's got to be Shea.
Okay.
And mind you, I made these selections. I don't know how much you thought about this. The format is obviously going to be USA versus World. I didn't take that into account when I was picking these players.
Neither did I.
Because I'm looking at this now, and I only have I have what, 5 international guys on here: Wemby, Luka, Denny, Shea, and Giannis. So I mean, like, that's not. I don't know. I didn't take that into account.
I didn't take it into account either. I just did East-West.
Yeah, that's what I did. And I feel like Jalen Johnson and Scotty Barnes, I feel like those are 2 guys that I've kind of been like beating the drum for a lot this year. So I feel like I had to put my money where my mouth is and use my votes on them. So that's why I picked those guys. And I think generally, I think Cade is a very fun player to watch. I like watching him play. I'm a fan of what the Pistons have been doing this year. I'm really impressed by their turnaround because they were arguably one of the worst teams of all time. Like, not even like basically 2 years ago, one of the worst teams ever. Almost one of the longest losing streaks.
It was the longest losing streak.
Did they tie it or break the record?
I thought they broke it. It was 28, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think they lost 29 in a row or something. So, like, their turnaround has been very inspiring, and like Cade is just a fun player to watch in general. So that's why I threw him in there. Donovan Mitchell too, because he's a big game performer. He always plays well in big games, and he's fun to watch. Like, I picked these guys based off of how much I like watching them. And even though Shea is a foul baiter, like, he's the reigning finals MVP, probably going to win MVP again. So, like, I gave him his respect and gave him that pick. Anthony Edwards, like, early candidate for father of the decade, if you ask me. But on the basketball court, you can't deny that he's one of the most exciting players to watch in the league. And you can't tell me that you wouldn't want him starting in the All-Star game.
I mean, you saw what he did in the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think Wemby kind of goes without saying in terms of what he brings to the league. I guess Denny Avdia, I don't know. I probably could have put like Kevin Durant or LeBron in there, but like, I don't know. Denny's been hooping this year.
Oh, so you're gonna hate who I put in the Western.
I'm gonna give him that spot. So that's
not ridiculous. I do think it's funny though that you were like
crazy.
I do love how I jokingly was like, oh, there's a rage bait here, and you're like, you know which one it is.
Yeah.
So okay, that's not ridiculous. I think that's a solid list. Here's mine.
Okay.
So, as you can see, you and I have agreed on Scotty Barnes.
Yeah.
I do think that Scotty Barnes. I'm standing on business. I've asked for Toronto Raptors dialogue. I kind of want to continue that, but I do think that Scotty Barnes has actually taken the leap this year. And I'm not even saying this is his ceiling, but there was calls last year about because the Raptors weren't winning a whole lot of games. What are we doing with Scotty Barnes? Is he going to make that leap? Well, he definitely has this year. Just look at his 25 rebound performance versus the Warriors.
Yeah.
So I think Scotty Barnes is up there. I think I picked Jaylen Brown because I didn't think the Celtics were going to be much of anything this year. They were going to be in the playoffs, but without Jason Tatum, they have exceeded expectations. And you could chalk that up to the team overall playing better. You could chalk it up to Joe Mazzulla putting up a great coaching performance. But Jaylen Brown is the captain of the ship while Jason Tatum's been out. And, questions about could he ever be a leader? Well, he's doing it right now. And they're winning a lot of games. Cade and Giannis, you talked about it. I put Tyrese Maxey in there because can you imagine what the Sixers would be without Tyrese Maxey?
They'd be pretty bad.
Yeah. And VJ Edgecombe has played very phenomenal basketball. He should be we're barely approaching the halfway mark of the season, and I do believe that he should be a finalist, if not the rookie of the year, at least so far up to this point in the season. But Maxi's been the engine. What?
I noticed you also didn't put Brunson in there.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't put Brunson in there. Well, I didn't even think of it from a foul baiting perspective, although I'm not saying you're wrong. I just thought of, the two most electrifying guards in the Eastern Conference, and those are the two most electrifying guards, in my opinion, in the Eastern Conference right now.
Yeah.
So I just thought of it like that. I thought about Donovan Mitchell too, but because the only one that I was going back and forth on was Jaylen Brown. But between Jaylen Brown and Donovan Mitchell, I think Jaylen Brown's doing more with less. No disrespect to that Celtics supporting cast.
Yeah.
But I just think he's been playing well. And that 50-point game was crazy. We're not judging it on one game. But now going to the Western Conference. There's three players that overlap here. There are two that are different. Let me explain the obvious one. I picked Kawhi Leonard because if we had done this 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have picked Kawhi Leonard. When All-Star voting opened, I don't think anybody's picking Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
I'm picking Kawhi Leonard because the Clippers are kind of remembering how to play basketball, and he's the main reason why.
Right.
So it's so fascinating because, and this is a topic for another day, but Kawhi Leonard has been playing out of his mind, like 2019 vibes, ever since Chris Paul got released. I'm not saying the two are connected. I'm just saying I know you didn't think of it like that before this.
Right.
So I'm not saying those two things are connected. They're just two facts. But the fact of the matter is Kawhi Leonard is playing like it's 2018 again. And I think that makes him worthy of an all-star performance. Didn't he score a career high?
He had
55
against Detroit. And
yeah.
Like
so he's turned back the clock somehow. I think, Stephen A has historically called him the worst superstar in NBA history.
Yeah.
And while I do think there could be some merit to that, he's shedding all of those stereotypes with his performance this year. And I knew you weren't going to pick Jokic. I knew you weren't going to put Jokic up there. But I just can't imagine an all-star. I can't pick the Western all-star starters without Nikola Jokic.
He's not going to try. I bet you Jokic's averages in the all-star game are like 7 points, 4 rebounds, and like 5 assists.
Can you name
across the all-star game?
Hold on. I'm going back to this really quickly. Are your players trying?
I think all of these guys are going to try in the all-star game. I think every one of them would try, except maybe Luka. Denny would, because it would be Denny and Jalen Johnson for sure, because it would be their first all-star game appearance.
Dude, Giannis isn't going to try. He doesn't want to risk getting hurt.
I feel like Giannis would definitely try. He always goes hard in the all-star game, so I feel like that's a given. And then I don't know about Luka. I think Wemby definitely would. We saw how he played last year. If I were to make one change to mine, I would I can't believe I forgot about Steph Curry. I would have to figure out who I want to take out and put Steph Curry in there.
Yeah, Denny Avdia.
Or Shea.
That's why I didn't put Shea in. That's why I didn't put SGA.
Okay.
I tried to keep it loyal to the, 2 guards, 3 or 2 backcourt, 3 front court, like the good old days.
Oh, I didn't do that.
It's roughly like that. Actually, that's exactly how it is now that I look at it. But yeah, I just try or to not try, or do or do not. There's not try. Jokic is probably not doing anything because of he's injured still too. You know who I thought about putting on here? I just couldn't find space for him. But my honorable mention for the Western Conference would be Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray has been playing insane while not insane, but he's been playing great in Jokic's absence. I mean, he had 22 and 17 versus the Celtics. Since Jokic's injury, he's had 21, 34, 27, 22, 35. And then the 22 performance was 17 assists. So I think Jamal Murray should get some all-star consideration as well. I don't think he'll get it, though, just because it's so close to the end of voting. And during the run that Jokic was on, or while Jokic was still there, it's Jokic's team, clearly. And it's I just don't think Jamal Murray would ever get that acknowledgement, which is unfortunate, but he's competing for championships still, and I think he'll gladly take that.
You sold me
that's
for that. I think you sold me on Kawhi, because that was the thing that jumped out at me when I first saw your players. I was like, whoa, like jump scare, Kawhi Leonard. But they have figured out how to play basketball again over the last like 2-3 weeks or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he's been playing insane. And if you're getting this level of Kawhi Leonard, he's definitely one of the 5 best players in the Western Conference. Should be an all-star, especially the games in LA. It's going to be at Intuit Dome anyway. So I think he's a valid pick. He's a valid choice for sure.
I do think that, you know, I was talking about the Eastern Conference switching out Jaylen Brown. I didn't forget about Jalen Johnson, but I should have considered him more. I'd probably make him the runner-up for.
I don't think he'll make it just because the Hawks aren't very good, but I threw him on there because
I think the Hawks. It's an investment thing. I think the Hawks will be, you know what? Atlanta needs the All-Star game.
They had it there a few years ago.
They need it again. They need it again. Yeah, bring it back because didn't LA just have it a few years ago too? They had it at
in 2018 was the last time it was here. So it's been like kind of a little bit, but they have had it in the last decade, we'll say.
You know who needs it again? Toronto.
Yeah.
Toronto needs it again. A lot of people consider that one to be the greatest All-Star game of the modern era or All-Star weekend.
Right.
I think it's just 2016 nostalgia.
Yeah, I was going to say that's like the Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine dunk contest.
And the Kobe LeBron All-Star with Drake blocking the photo.
Yeah.
So, but bring that one back. Anyway, this isn't even really rage baiting, to be honest with you. This is just the only one that I'm missing is SGA.
Yeah.
So
I was trying to be a little goofy with Denny, but like even though that was the case, I still think my picks aren't that crazy.
The Denny Avdija pick isn't. It's honestly not even rage bait because he's been playing great. He's the best. I think for 25 teams, probably the 20 best teams in the league, putting the best player on that team in the All-Star, I don't think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, if you're putting LaMelo Ball, LaMelo Ball is coming off the bench now, but.
I thought you were putting Michael Porter Jr. on one of your. Were you thinking about that at all? Like
no.
Okay.
With all due respect, MPJ is hooping. There's no denying that. But go get your Michael. Go get your own rebound, Porter Jr.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see though because the format is a little bit different. They're even changing the Rising Stars game. I think.
I feel like they change that every other year, and people still don't watch. So we'll see.
You know damn well you and I will be watching it.
I hope I'm not watching it. I hope I have something better to do on a Friday night or whenever they play it. We'll see.
I'll see you for the All-Star game.
I'll be there. Hopefully, I might try. We'll see how much the tickets are. If they're like $1,000 like they were last year, I don't think I'll go. But we'll see.
Where was it last year?
The Bay.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, that was ridiculous. Anyway, that's it for this episode of the Professional Hate Watching Association. We will be back to a little more consistent schedule, TBD though. But for now, that's it for this episode. For Palmore, I'm Ethan. We will see you in the next.